Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a highly provocative, deeply philosophical framework all about human mating strategies. We're looking at a theoretical model from a recent analytical deep dive that literally connects raw, millions of years old evolutionary biology straight to Nietzschean philosophy. It's a wildly fascinating look at why relationships so often fail in the modern world and how profound conscious awareness might just be the ultimate solution. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The biological baseline. 2. The dual role. 3. The unpredictable web. 4. Loving the fate. 5. Overriding the code. And finally, 6. The ultimate map.
Let's jump right in. Section 1, the biological baseline, or the evolutionary program.
Okay, so the core foundation of this text rests on the argument that our reproductive behavior isn't just socially constructed. It actually follows a deeply ingrained, millions of years old cyclical program. We start with the stud or Deckhengst phase. This is where the biological drive seeks the absolute best genes, high status, and dominance. Then, post-pregnancy, that instinct shifts dramatically to the provider or resorger phase, seeking security, resources, and emotional safety. But here's the really controversial part. Around the 7-year mark, the model claims there's a rejection phase. Sexual attraction to the provider drops off, leading to a biological cycle restart. Now, to be completely fair to the source text, this is presented strictly as a neutral evolutionary control system. It's not framed as a conscious betrayal or a moral failing by anyone involved. And that brings us to a really crucial underlying logic here. Evolution doesn't operate on human ethics, right? It knows absolutely no morals. It just experiments blindly. Dissatisfaction in a relationship isn't necessarily a sign that someone is doing something wrong. According to the text, it's simply the actuator in a biological control loop. It's literally the physical trigger evolution uses to force action and keep the genetic experiment moving forward.
Moving on to Section 2, the dual role, the male challenge.
So, if we accept this premise, what does it actually require of men to survive this evolutionary mismatch in our modern society? The framework points out a massive contradiction. To be the ideal partner, a man is expected to be the Deckhengst, dominant, highly attractive, unpredictable, creating high sexual tension to trigger that initial attraction. Yet, at the exact same time, he has to be the Versorger, stable, totally reliable, emotionally secure, and perfectly responsible. Embodying both of these opposing archetypes simultaneously is incredibly rare and extremely difficult, simply because they require entirely different energetic states. So how does a guy actually navigate this? How does he successfully embody both? The text lays out some highly specific actions. First, he really has to strive to master those opposing energies. Second, he needs to maintain strict emotional independence. Third, he has to retain a subtle sense of external options. And fourth, he must practice what the source calls strategic authenticity. What does that mean? Well, it means he can't fully surrender his emotional control. He has to maintain a level of relationship tension and display true strength without becoming entirely predictable. It's all about being deeply committed while making it clear you still stand completely on your own 2 feet. Section 3. The unpredictable web. Complex systems. Now, of course, these relationship dynamics don't happen in a vacuum. They happen within the incredibly messy reality of daily human life. As the analysis points out, human life is a highly complex, recursive system, which basically means every single hormonal shift, emotional reaction, or strategic choice you make doesn't just have a linear A to B effect. It's the butterfly effect in full swing. Every move creates unpredictable, delayed reactions across your finances, family dynamics, and personal identity. You are constantly navigating a web of delayed feedback loops, making perfect, conscious control nearly impossible. Section 4. Loving the fate. Amor Fati. So you might be wondering, how do you maintain your calmness and composure when you're caught in this highly unpredictable biological system? The source provides a brilliant philosophical tool for this. Amor Fati, a concept drawn directly from Nietzsche. Here, it's defined as actively and joyfully saying yes to one's fate. It means fully accepting the total unpredictability of these complex, recursive systems without fighting reality. You don't passively resign yourself to the chaos. You joyfully embrace the unpredictable feedback loops of life. You basically stop fighting the unchangeable biology and start dancing with it. To really visualize this, the text uses a rubber band model. Imagine an inner North Star pulling you toward your ultimate destiny, and it's connected to you by a rubber band. Amor Fati means actually feeling that tension,
recognizing the biological and systemic pulls on your life and choosing to accept that friendly guidance instead of constantly fighting the strain. It's about maintaining profound inner calmness and steering your instincts, even amidst incredibly complex relationship dynamics. Section 5. Overriding the code. The Übermensch path.
So, how do we consciously break out of that 7-year evolutionary cycle? This is where the framework introduces the concepts of the Überfrau and Übermensch. In this specific context, this refers to a person who consciously recognizes and actively overrides their deep-seated hormonal and emotional instincts in order to make rational long-term decisions. They are essentially overriding their automatic biological System 1 programming with conscious, highly rational System 2 thought. Let's look at the practical steps here, specifically for a woman transitioning into an Überfrau. Step 1 is recognizing those deep emotional and hormonal impulses when they arise, without blindly acting on them. Step 2 is overcoming the natural emotional resistance, which the model suggests is often harder for women due to higher social and emotional conditioning. Step 3 is consciously choosing long-term stability in family over fleeting biological drives. And step 4 is successfully breaking that 7-year rejection cycle. By actively taking these steps, she controls her instincts rather than being controlled by them. And this leads us to a fascinating crossroads. What is the optimal life design? If we're literally fighting millions of years of evolution, what's the most effective way to live? The framework presents 3 stark potential life paths to evaluate. The first option, geared toward men, live alone until 30 to gain life experience, have 3 to 5 children with a partner, and then live completely free again, retaining your external options. The second option, primarily for women, simply follow the classical, biologically driven 7-year cycle of attraction, reproduction, and eventual dissatisfaction. But the third option is for both partners, a conscious, long-term bonding as 2 Übermenschen, building a life based on rational choice rather than automatic biological programming. Section 6. The ultimate match. Ideal constellations. Let's bring all these threads together and analyze which combinations actually survive the modern world. This matrix brilliantly compares different couple constellations and their survival rates. Constellation 1, an Überman with a non-Überfrau. This works medium term, but it requires the man to constantly use strategic authenticity and output really high energy just to maintain tension. Constellation 2, an Überfrau with a non-Überman. The text argues this rarely works long term because the woman will almost certainly outgrow the dynamic. Constellation 3, 2 normal people or nicht Übermenschen. This is the most common but highly unstable, often resulting in high divorce rates because raw biology clashes with modern marriage structures. Finally, Constellation 4, the Überman and Überfrau. It's the absolute rarest but highly stable model. Let's look at exactly why.
2 Übermenschen living true depth and freedom together. According to the framework, this is the absolute only model where a relationship is truly stable without deceit or constant strategic game playing. Because both partners exercise mutual conscious control over their instincts, they theoretically allow for natural polarity and lasting freedom. They tell each other the truth, they manage their own biological dissatisfaction, and they consciously choose each other every single day. They are no longer victims to their evolutionary programming.
It is such a profound lens through which to view human connection. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. If our biology is quite literally millions of years old, how much of your current relationship is truly a conscious choice? Think about that for a second. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning the systems around you.